like they were dog wolves. I don't know what they were, but they were angry. 8-pointed ears, just all looking at me and my son, and we were their next meal, and started racing toward me and Jonathan. And I see in the distance this really tall guy, and he has biblical garb on, just the garments with the rope and the sandals, and he goes, "You're going to be okay. Just keep going. Don't look back."
This is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God, because God is speaking to you and me and the church and the world, and here we get to listen in on the conversations, these collisions of heaven and earth, encounters with angels, near-death experiences, divine intervention. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. Could be an angel encounter. We might have one of those in this episode. We're talking to Lisa in this episode. I'm talking to her and I'm thinking, is there a song called I'm Not Lisa? Does that ring any bells with you?
My name is Julie, something like that, right?
Okay. So do we have an angel encounter? Who is that biblical-looking figure in this? And then later on, when there's this midnight ghost tour in New Orleans, something demonic gets released, seems to attack everybody in the group except Lisa. Why? It's great stories coming up here. And we're going to start. Well, I'll tell you this about her. Lisa was born into a big Catholic family, 7 kids. Things were going pretty well. One of those everybody prays the rosary kind of families, right? College-age years, a little bit of fade out for Lisa. Comes back, gets married at age 29. We're going to start there when she's 29 years old, because that's going to bring about her 1-year-old Jonathan and our first story in this Touched by Heaven episode.
But I will tell you the angel story if you want right now.
Yeah, let's do angels. We like angels around here. People find us because of angels. Yeah.
I love angels. I love them. And got on my bike, and I had a 1-year-old at the time, Jonathan. So I put him in the bike seat, and it was about 6 a.m, and I thought, I'm just going to ride down to my in-laws. And it was kind of downhill, so it's an easy trip. And I decided to take a shortcut, and it was a street called Laurel Avenue. And pretty name of a street, but just a horrible street. It actually doesn't even exist today. There's a lot of industry there, and they got rid of the street. But people, it's just a 2-lane highway, and people used to throw trash on each side of the road. There were no houses, no people, just a clear, 2-mile stretch that was a shortcut. So I thought, I'm just going to take this. I mean, who's up at 6 a.m? How bad could it be? Well, as I started down that journey on that street, I looked to my left because I heard a lot of growling and really anger growling. And I looked over and I saw about 5 or 6, like they were dog wolves. I don't know what they were, but they were angry. They all had pointed ears and they were huge, and they were fighting. They were fighting over something. They were, either it was a kill or whatever. But when I kind of rode past, they were about 1/4 of a mile away from me, but I can clearly hear them and see them. And they all looked up at the same time. I still in my mind see that it's like, 6-pointed ears or 8-pointed ears, just all looking at me and my son, and we were their next meal. And they immediately left whatever they were fighting over and started racing toward me and Jonathan. And this time my heart is racing, and he felt the anxiety, and he just started screaming. And I thought, how am I going to get out of this? And so I just started looking ahead, like, don't fall, Lisa, don't fall. Just keep going as fast as you can and get out of this street. Because at the end of the street, there's a busy street, there's houses, there's people that could have helped me. So as I'm wailing down this street, I look over to the other side, and I see in the distance, probably about another 1/4 of a mile down the road, this really tall guy. And he's really tall, and he has biblical garb on, just the garments with the rope and the sandals, and like I could see everything. He had really long blonde hair. He had a cane like Moses in Ben-Hur. Remember when he parted the rivers? Kind of a curl cane, I think. Maybe that's my imagination, but
kind of a staff kind of thing more than yeah.
Yes. Yes, huge. And I tried to yell out the words, "Help me," but I couldn't get it out. Inside my brain, I was screaming to the top of my lungs, "Help me," but nothing came out of my mouth. And he spoke to me with his eyes. They were crystal. They were really light blue, and he just calmed my spirit. He goes, "You're going to be okay. Just keep going. Go fast, go straight, don't look back. Just keep going. You're going to be okay." And so I'm thinking, where did this guy come from? Like, no one in their right mind would be walking on the street. And why is he dressed that way? But instantly I knew he was there to help me. So as I rode past him on the corner of my, the peripheral vision to my left, I saw him, and he lifted up that staff, and those dogs who were pretty much almost on me went right to him. I can just hear their growling in their voices because they were now behind me, and they crossed over to where he was, and I kept going. He told me, don't look back. I didn't want to become that pillar of salt like that lady did. So I did what I was told. But when I did get to the end of the street, which wasn't too far down the road now, I stopped because there was some traffic, and I did look back because I was a little bit concerned for him. Like, what happened to that guy? I looked back, and I can see as far as the eye. It was a crystal clear morning. No man, no dog, animal things, whatever they were, wolves or whatever they were, coyotes, I don't know. But I just sat there and I cried. I just cried. I don't still to this day, don't know what happened, don't know who that was, but I felt it, everything in my spirit, that something saved me that day. And I'm in sales and I drive for a living. And there was many, many years that passed by after that I would just park on that Laurel Avenue before they destroyed it all and made an industrial area. I just park and say a rosary and just say, I'm going to meet you someday. I want to know who you are.
Whoever you are. Talk about your son and all this. Now explain your son during all of this. And he's how old at this point?
He's one. He felt it.
And where do you have him?
He was screaming. He's on the back of my bike. There used to be there still is probably little baby seats that you could put on the back of your bike for a toddler, just real tiny. And that's where he was. And he had a little helmet on. We both did. I mean, I'm a safety mom and all that. But I had no business on that street. I should have never gone down that street.
Oh my gosh! I mean, is he wailing during this entire thing? He's got to be losing it?
Yes, he was, and it's funny how babies can sense. You don't think they know things, but they can sense everything.
Yeah, well, especially when you got mom sense too here. You're coming unglued too, so it kind of makes sense during this entire thing. The animals, you're not quite sure what they were. Doggish, wolfish. It's just whatever they were.
They were the largest wolf dog things I've ever seen.
Almost demonish the way they're acting. Almost demonish,
Absolutely.
So do all those things, okay, let's go back. Let's think about what this might be, what that might be. You got angry animals. You got a guy standing there, a real tall guy, biblical. Who do you think that guy was? You think of a staff, you think of tall, you think of biblical. I don't know, although not a John the Baptist kind of role, you kind of wonder.
Michael the Archangel?
Michael, well, maybe, although why does he look like that? I don't know. I don't think, wait, does Michael have do you ever see a picture of Michael with a staff? I don't know.
He seems like he'd have a sword.
Yeah, more like a sword. You're right. More like a sword. So that doesn't seem quite it either. Definitely taller than 6 feet, by the way.
Yes, he was massive.
Like 7 feet.
He was so tall.
Taller than 7.
Oh yeah, around 7.
Okay,
7,
maybe angelic. Maybe angelic.
The blue of the eyes.
Yeah.
And they just spoke to me, and it was so calming. And he kept saying, "You're gonna be okay. Just keep going. Just stay on the road. Just keep going. I've got this," type of thing. And
you hang on to that even now, of course. You hang on to that kind of thing. Helps you later on. Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. And I just, that is such a precious memory. And like so many other people, Trapper, a lot of people didn't talk about their angel experiences back then in the early 90s because there wasn't the internet. There wasn't a way to be able to feel engaged and think that you're not crazy that happened. So I didn't even really mention it to anybody for years. I mentioned it to my 2 best friends, and that was it.
Yeah. I think near-death experiences are like that. Now they're everywhere. Now you realize the millions of people who have had near-death experiences. Same thing. Back when Moody wrote his book in the 70s, nobody had ever, who knew? Now you see case after case, and it's just remarkable what God reveals in those episodes. But where are we going next?
Okay, so my favorite saint is Saint Anthony, because my mom taught us that anytime you lose things, say a prayer to Saint Anthony and you'll find it. And I always say, Saint Anthony, come around, my whatever it is, lost and cannot be
Right.
found.
Hmm.
I say a little poem like that to him, but he's helped me. He's actually helped my husband, who I'm married to now. I remarried, and my husband did not grow up Catholic, so he didn't really know about the Rosary or Saint Anthony or saints or Mary or anything like that. And through the years, he's seen little things that go on in my life, and he is a believer. He may not be Catholic in the name sense, but he definitely knows the power of the Rosary and knows things like that.
Yeah.
He knows that, and he prays to Saint Anthony.
Yeah, because he's the busy. I keep saying he's the busiest saint on the planet. You got other saints sitting around with orange fingers because they're eating Cheetos all day. Got nothing to do. But Anthony is
He,
finding stuff everywhere that we're sending him. So yeah, he's impressive. He's impressive.
he
Yeah.
is. I prayed to him when I was 39. When I got divorced, I was about 34. And for the next 5 years, I did not date. I just took care of my son. I worked really hard. When I was 39, I was so lonely. I had not dated for years. And I just wanted to be a good mom. And finally, my girlfriend said, Lisa, you can't just be in your beautiful 30s and not date. So I'm putting you at loveatamericaonline.com. And back in the year 2000, it was still innocent and no one would ever dare do something like that. So she made a profile behind my back, kind of, with my permission. But I said, you do it. I don't want anything to do with that kind of stuff. So she ended up doing a profile, and I put in one sentence, there was a question that's, what's the cutest thing that your son did? Because I said I'm a single mother. And I said he stood up at the Pantages when I took him to see Beauty and the Beast. And he just, with all his might on the chair, said, Mom, can we rewind it? It was so cute.
That's precious. Let's
I
rewind it.
know.
Come on. Where's the
I
remote?
loved
Where's
it.
anything here? Come on.
Well, getting back to that, loveatamericaonline.com. So she
Yeah.
puts this ad in, and I told her to put it in Orange County. I go, I don't, because I'm in sales and I don't want anybody to see my picture or anything like that. And so she did that. And this guy texts me back and he goes, here's my phone number if you want to call. That was it. That was all my husband today said. Because it wasn't, dating on the internet wasn't a thing back then. And so I actually called the number and we started talking and he said, where do you live? Guess where he lived in the whole World Wide Web? 2 blocks from me.
And you didn't know he was there, right?
No, no. When my mom passed away, it was about 3 years later. My husband that I married to is a high school drama teacher, and they were absolutely spectacular productions. The theater sat 2,000. We had thousands of people come to these shows. And he was doing a show called Big River, and my best friend Jerry had come to see it. And when it was over, I was talking to her and people were everywhere. And a little girl came up and she kept tugging on my shirt. Tugging, tugging, tugging. I'm in the middle of a conversation and I didn't know her. And I finally looked down and I said, can I help you? And she said to me, your mom was here at the production and she wanted to tell you that she loved it. And I said, oh, honey, my mom passed away a few years back. She's not here. And the little girl said, yes, she is. And then she ran. And then my girlfriend immediately did that Twilight Zone, da 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 da, like that to me,
Yeah, that's nice.
and I just thought, God, Jerry, who was that? And then we were looking all around for her, and we couldn't find her anywhere.
Hmm.
So I often wonder about that because my mother loved theater. She loved Broadway shows, and she loved that kind of stuff, and it kind of gave me peace in my heart that they are with you, you know.
You're a sweet woman. I know what you said your age was in your email, I believe, but you sound like you're in your
Mhm.
30s to me. It's just
Oh, yeah.
you have no, you have a loveliness to you, and I can see why God touches you in these ways. I really
Oh,
do.
thank
I
you.
just
Well, I
I
always try
think
to find humor in everything. And my
yeah.
dad, my maiden name was Young, and my dad always told us 4 sisters, girls, if you don't marry, you'll be young forever.
There you go. Let's pause right about here with young Lisa. And coming up, an episode story about her trip to New Orleans and a ghost tour that went crazy with spookiness and evil. And but she was protected. Coming up here. First, quick Patreon shout out. Thank you so much, Lily Phillips. Lily Phillips been in our Patreon family for a while. She's actually been on these episodes, told some great stories, and we've learned from her, and she's learned from you.
I love learning from your program. I really do. it's so exciting and calming, and I just love the things that you have taught me and other people have taught me. It's beautiful.
Thanks again, Lily, for being a part of our Patreon family to keep this all going week to week. To do the same, to join the family, come here to touchedbyheaven.net, or you can click your way through there or go directly to patreon.com and search for Trapper Jack. Thank you. Hey, thanks for finding the place. Lisa, let's get back to you. How did you find the place, Touched by Heaven?
I found the podcast. My best friend, one of the two that I had, she was a very, very dear friend to me. Her name was Colette. She passed away last July 11th of pancreatic cancer in 10 days. And I was devastated. She's my age. You know, we known each other since we were 19 years old. And after she passed, I started watching near-death experience videos on YouTube. So I just was fascinated with those. And then it turned to podcasts. And then I would watch I listened to a few podcasts, Next Level Soul and other things, but a lot of them, they were just so out there and it wasn't really according to my beliefs. So then I found you. It was just happenstance. It was, I prayed to St. Anthony and I said, please help me find a podcast that can speak to my heart and speak to my soul. I really need one. So you know what? I walk every day 5 miles up a trail, and it's now called the Trapper Trail. So every morning I get up and I put on your podcast, and I don't even think I have to go exercise anymore. I think, oh, good. I get to hear 2 podcasts, because usually I get through 2 podcasts by the time I get home. So you really did help me lose weight. You've helped me with my spirit. You've helped me with peace of knowing that my friend is fine, and I know these things, but in your heart you just miss people. And I don't know, I feel sometimes I shouldn't be here. I feel that my guarding angel has worked overtime her whole life, and I probably need to thank her, when I get to heaven too.
Wow. That's beautiful. We are a great weight loss program. We also put people to sleep at night. I mean, we have a lot of things going for us. We help insomniacs. We help weight loss. We got, spirituality, getting you out of sometimes people get all caught up in true crime stuff, and this is kind of an antidote for that too. Give people hope, so
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I'm more of a PG kind of girl, so some of the
Yeah.
podcasts were too scary. The scariest podcast you did was at 125. That guy that from Hollywood that
Zach King,
got sucked up into that.
high
Yeah.
wizard,
Yeah.
satanic stuff. But isn't it
Yes.
amazing how he came back? Isn't it amazing
Yes.
what Mary can do? And
Absolutely.
I always say this, and people
Yes.
don't get it. How Mary always turns you towards Jesus. She literally took this guy, turned him around, and he saw Jesus. I mean, I love that part of that episode.
Absolutely does.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
absolutely does. I have a kind of a scary story. My husband and I were in New Orleans back in the year 2002, and he says, "Hey, let's do a ghost tour in the cemetery." And my good Jehovah Witness friend Troy, he said, "Lisa, don't do this. This is not good. Don't tamper with stuff like that." And I said, "Troy, it's gonna be okay. I love history, and I want to see how people are buried over there, because I know they have different plots that are like 3-story because of the water level." Because of the hurricanes and stuff. So, but I didn't realize my husband had booked it for the midnight tour. So here we are at midnight in a graveyard, the oldest graveyard in New Orleans. Now I'm feeling kind of uncomfortable. And it was like the Bloody Mary tour. And there was me and Dave, another couple, and a mother and a daughter. So just the 6 of us at midnight in this graveyard. So when we get up to the place, she says, "Okay, we're here. We're going to open the gates. I want you to open your hearts and your soul and let the spirits come in." And I had the rosary beads in my pocket, and I said, no way. No one's getting near my soul or anything. I don't want anything to do with that. I have the rosary beads in my pocket. Mary, please protect me. I'm just here for the history and not for like the ghost thing. And so my husband, on the other hand, he was like, "Come and get me," basically. That's what he was probably saying in his brain. So we start this tour, and we get about 20 minutes into it, and she says, "Can you open up this crypt? The inscription is on but I don't want to touch it because it makes me sick." And she points to
Who
my
said
husband.
this? The one leading this?
The Bloody Mary lady says, "I don't want to touch it because it kind of makes me sick when I do." So Dave was thinking, "You're nuts." And he went and he opened it, And right when he did, about 30 seconds later, he started projectile vomiting. I'm not kidding. But the weirdest thing is that the two couples that were with us, the mom and the daughter and the other couple, they didn't hear anything. They didn't see anything. They're right there. And they kept walking like they were in a trance. And then that lady turned around and she looked at me, the Bloody Mary lady, and it's like she knew I knew. Like I wasn't in that trance. I saw everything at that cemetery. And I'm like, you guys, my husband's sick. Just everybody slow down. They didn't even hear me talk. They just kept walking like zombies. And then my husband saw his last name on a gravestone, and he felt sick again. Then the last part is that she was telling us about a little boy that had passed away and blah, blah, blah. He did this and that. And all of a sudden my husband's cell phone rings. Okay. And it's really like like that type of thing. And it was a child's voice saying, you're here. You want me. Like, I'm here. What can I do for you? Like that. And it was the creepiest voice. And so, because both Dave and me were listening to the cell phone because we had young teenage boys at the time and I wanted to make sure, but again, the phone rang about 45 minutes into this in the middle of the night, and the other two couples didn't do anything. They didn't get startled. They didn't even hear the phone ring. And when we got off, David looks at the caller and he says, "Why did you call me, Larry?" Because it was a guy named Larry's cell phone number. But when he looked on his phone, there was no call to my husband. So whatever it was, used Larry's phone number to call my husband. And later on, I found out that demons can attach themselves to objects, right? And so when we got home, Dave had left his cell phone at the New Orleans airport by accident. And somebody had just opened it up and probably saw wife, because that's how I'm labeled in his phone. And at that time, there was no encryption. There was no codes or anything. And if you lost your phone, you had to do your contacts all over again because there was no cloud or anything. And so they said, "Oh, we found your phone. Yeah, well, UPS it to your house the next day." And I said, "That's okay." But Dave said, "Yeah, I want it. So the next day, I'm barely awake and the doorbell rings, but I don't hear it. But my son does. And he answers the door and he goes, "Mom, you're sitting right here. Why didn't you hear the doorbell?" I go, "I didn't hear it." And I look at it and it's from New Orleans. It's a cell phone. And I just instantly got a black marker. I wrote JMJ on the front of the box, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, put it in my car and took it to a church dumpster and threw it away.
Wow.
I might be crazy, but I didn't want that thing in my house. And that was probably one of the scariest times I've ever had in my life. And I do not do ghost tours anymore. Yeah. We travel a lot. We love history, but I want to stay as far away from that kind of stuff as possible. And I was very thankful to Mary that she protected me that night. And that
when you were on this little tour and your husband is projectile vomiting and no one else is noticing and you're noticing, and you guys talk about that story, how much all of it does your husband remember, or just bits and pieces?
He has a really hard time even thinking about this. He remembers everything. Dave has a memory like a horse, but he doesn't. Wait,
horses have good memory?
I know, but they're big, so he's got
a big memory. Okay.
he everything he reads he remembers, but no, it was very. And he wasn't angry at me at all for throwing his cell phone away. And I actually took pictures that night. So this was the old Kodachrome, because there were no cell phones that can take pictures or anything. And I had just bought the roll a week before. So I took it back down to Save On to get it developed. And when I went to pick it up, the guy says to me, "This is the weirdest film I've ever seen in my life. I only got 11 pictures because the rest of the film looks like it's 60 or 70 years old." And I go, "Why? What are you talking about?" And that's what he said to me. And I go, and he goes, "I've never seen anything like it." So I said, okay. So I got the pictures and I started looking at them, and there are orbs everywhere. And the weirdest thing is this Larry guy, the pictures that I took of him and his wife, he didn't show up in any of the pictures.
What is that about?
I don't know. And David ended up burning the pictures. My husband, we didn't want anything to do with that night again,
Yeah. People pay big bucks for that kind of experience. They go, "Ooh, how cool." No, it's not cool. It's not cool. It's demonic, obviously.
It was very.
But interesting with you and the rosary and protection, you saw it all. It didn't hurt you. Didn't come after you. You know,
Nope.
it's powerful. Mary said it's your greatest spiritual weapon, and
Yes.
it shows itself over and over again. You know.
Yes. What do you think about the scapulas that people
Oh,
wear?
they're powerful. They're powerful. I should wear them. I don't. I know I have one here. They
Uh-huh.
tend to. I have medals. I wear medals of like Saint Benedict, and
Uh-huh.
who else is there? Mary, of course, there. Miraculous medal, and Saint Leo the Great, because he's the patron saint of speakers, and he came and he was literally in my. I found him in my house like a week or 2 weeks before I spoke at Saint Leo the Great. I took that as a sign. So I have medals here, right? So when I put the scapula on, it just kind of tends to get all tangled up in all of that. But
Yeah.
why do you ask?
Oh, I'm just curious because I don't really hear too many people talk about them anymore.
Yeah.
And I know what you're talking about. I do have one, but they tend to just they're kind of a little bit burdensome, you know what I mean, when you're trying to, because I still work full time and
Yeah.
all
No,
that.
but it's supposed to be. Yeah, they've shown themselves to be very powerful, and I think is it Fatima that she mentioned it, or I can't remember which apparition where she talked about that and the brown scapula. But there's a green one too. I see. I don't know enough about those things. I just don't know enough.
Mhm.
Should
Well,
educate myself.
I first heard about Medjugorje on your podcast
Right.
because I've always known about Our Lady of Guadalupe, and like I mentioned to you, I have been to Lourdes, France, and that is just a spectacular place. I brought water back, and wow, just so spiritual and so beautiful. You just feel so clean after you leave a place like that, you know?
Yeah.
But
So Lisa, what's your takeaway?
my takeaway is I'm not afraid to die. I'm okay now. I used to be paranoid of that, thinking I'm never going to get into heaven. I haven't been good enough. I haven't been kind enough. And you look back at your youth and your 20s and 30s, and we all do stupid stuff, and I wish I can go back and change some things that I can't. But my takeaway is just it's powerful, it's real. And with all the escalation and tension in the country, having your faith is more powerful than anything these days.
Yeah, and you've also learned that it's the enemy that's telling you that you're not good enough, and yada yada yada. That's the
I
enemy's.
learned that from you.
Yeah, well, and it's true, and it's true. And the fact of the matter is, and once you've been forgiven, you've been forgiven. It's done.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But
So
I'm glad I don't
I'm.
have a near-death experience to tell you. I've been pretty blessed in that respect.
Don't you
But
kind of want one? Don't you kind of want one?
you know what? Yeah. I mean, no one ever wants to come back here, you know?
Not many, other than you finally get, oh yeah, I do have kids, or oh yeah, my husband. Or they usually get some kind of reminder. Or I still remember one, Faith from Australia. She was basically said, yeah, you can. God said you can come on in, but then he showed her what would happen if she came in without going back and helping her son and her boyfriend, and it wasn't good. So she went, oh, I guess I'm going back.
Yeah, wasn't meant to be. We all have a journey down here.
Yeah.
And, you just have to accept when somebody passes that their journey ended. It was their time, and just have faith, I don't know. I try not to be scared about the next day, but I'm grateful. I'm just grateful for so many things, and I'm grateful for people like you. You've changed a lot of people's lives, and you should be really proud of yourself,
I don't have an answer for that. You're touching me very deeply, but this is so Holy Spirit driven. There's no way we have survived this long with this many great stories. And generally, and I always tell people this, it's like a story a week. I'll get a story a week. And that's kind of it. I get a story a week. People think I'm under a deluge of great stories. No, I'm getting about a story a week, and it's just enough. He gives me, because it's all I need to keep this thing going. And you, before we even, I just noticed you went on Patreon and joined the family. So thank you for that, because that helps us do things like this, like getting into video more, and we're trying to make this larger. And because I'm the blind guy, it can cost us more because I can't do a lot of these things myself. So we're kind of hiring out now, right?
Absolutely.
But I trust God enough that He just keeps taking us to the next step. You're talking about we can all worry about tomorrow, and the only thing we're supposed to do is understand God gave us today. What am I supposed to do today? And on my list today was to talk to Lisa. And that's just
Oh,
made my day. You just made my day with all your
I love
wonderful
the ripple
stories.
effects of the near-death
Yeah.
experiences that people say when they see their review of life, a lot of them say that they
Hmm.
see the ripple effect by their kindness of what they did, how it continued on in somebody else's journey, and then they also see the ripple effect of maybe an unkind word or an unkind deed of what you did, thinking that maybe you didn't hurt somebody, but because you did this is what happened to that person, or because you said something. So it kind of makes you stop and think about, how you treat people and how you talk to people, because I want my ripple effects to be positive, not negative.
Amen. This has been beautiful. Thank you so much for this, Lisa.
So
You
much.
really did make my day. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you so much.
That is it. Thank you so much, Lisa, for your great stories of who is that biblical figure, by the way? What's your thought on that? Do you have a thought on that? Who that might be? Let me know. And thank you so much. The New Orleans story is amazing and all of it. So we appreciate the stories so much here at touchedbyheaven.net. Please let me know. That's what keeps all these episodes going week to week. And you also help us through patreon.com, both here at touchedbyheaven.net. All right. See you next week here at Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. I'm not Lisa.
My name is Julie, something like that, right?